Blame it on the uniform combinations, the fan turnout, whatever you want to do. Arizona State lost this game 34-14 here at Sun Devil Stadium. They fall to 5-3 this year up against the now 5-4 Washington State Cougars. Hi everybody, Zach Keenan here alongside our publisher, Hode Rubino for DevilsDigest.com. We're ready to break down this loss, and I know we've been waiting for the ASU passing game to break through. This wasn't the game. Jaden Daniels throwing 12 incompletions, 2 interceptions, and Hody didn't have a pass of more than 30 yards.
Yeah, and I really think it was just one of those snowball effects where he had 4 turnovers in the first half alone. Another turnovers are down by ASU. It looks like this offense just could never really get into rhythm. It was 1 step forward, 2 steps back. But Washington State, give him credit. They took advantage of most of those turnovers by Arizona State. And honestly, Zach, I think maybe the theme of this game is adversity. We talked so much, not us, I mean the entire country, about the adversity that Washington State went through last week with the firing of their head coach and 4 assistants due to the fact they didn't follow COVID protocols. They lose that same week to BYU, a very bitter 2-point loss at home. And honestly, I thought that maybe at some point, maybe the win was really taken out of their sails. Maybe the adversity caught up so much with them that it would manifest itself here in Tempe today. It was the exact opposite. ASU definitely looked like the team that had maybe a lot more adversity than Washington State to handle. Obviously, like I said, the first half really set the tone in every negative way for Arizona State, having 4 turnovers. Washington State, like I said, really was able to capitalize on those quite a bit. And when the defense finally regained their footing, if you will, in the second half, the third quarter, even though Arizona State was pitching a shutout on defense, on offense, it really could not get anything going at all. I think the absence of Rashad White really hurt the running game, because we talked earlier when Chip Traynham was out how much pressure Rashad White had, and even though he was scoring touchdowns almost every game, that his numbers definitely were not there. Now I think we got the reverse effect, that when Chip Traynham had to carry so much of the load without Rashad White, Daniel Ngata, I mean, no explanation. I still feel strongly about that. Comes in so late into the game, is just way too much pressure on the running game, and the passing game, like you said, really sputtered. But honestly, Zach, I don't know if it was just the running game, just the passing game. It just seemed like every facet here for Arizona State did play really poorly. Coaches talked about lack of executions, probably even not always having the right call, and that's really the game in a nutshell.
5 takeaways for the Washington State defense, 3 fumbles from ASU, all 3 of them lost, and then as I mentioned, Jaden Daniels throwing 2 interceptions. The ASU offense was 23 seconds away from being shut out in the first half if it weren't for an LV Bunkley Shelton touchdown, and at the end of the game, Chip Traynham ended up running in, touchdown in garbage time, but you said it, Hode, the running game wasn't there. We moved to defense, and there isn't much to be said. The second half looked a whole lot brighter than the first, but really they just could not have done anything worse than what they put out in the first half.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of the fact that if the offense is not really going to support the defense, that the defense almost by default is really going to play poorly. But I don't think you really can pin all that on the offense. I mean, sure, the offense didn't help the ASU defense at all. But one thing that I was really disappointed is the fact that Washington State at times really almost ran the ball at will. Now, I understand that because of their style of play, which really doesn't change no matter who the head coach is over there, they spread the field so much that, sure, you can't put that many defenders in the box, and that's definitely going to open some running lanes for Washington State. And I think one thing that was maybe been somewhat overlooked in the loss to BYU that the Cougars had last week was the fact that their number 2 running back, Deion McIntosh, did not play. He was excellent today. He really overshadowed Max Borgi, who is an excellent running back in his own right for Washington State and really played well in that loss to BYU. ASU did not have any answers whatsoever for Deion McIntosh, and I thought that Washington State, even though they really didn't light up the board in terms of passing game stats, just the fact that we're able to be balanced really throughout the entire game, probably more in the first half than the second half, that really did a number on the ASU defense. I feel like the ASU defense could have made the Washington State offense one-dimensional at any point. They really would have much more success than it did today. And you can argue that maybe in the second half, especially in the third quarter, they were able to do that. But this defense really was unable to get a lot of pressure on a quarterback. And when you have a quick throwing quarterback like Jaden DeLora, I mean, that's understandable to some extent. But really, the defense, I'm not going to say really put ASU in a hole in the first half, because a lot of the blame should go to the offense. But even though they played somewhat okay in the second half, it really was too little, too late. But you definitely cannot let the ASU offense off the hook. But the ASU defense right now, 28 unanswered points in the second half against Utah, and 28 unanswered points in the first half over here to Washington State. The ASU defense, in my opinion, and it's not breaking news, has just as much issues to fix as the ASU offense. And again, I mean, the way ASU played this entire game today and the second half at Utah, you really can't pinpoint one specific position group, one specific player, or just a group of 2-3 players that are really the end-all, be-all for the ASU issues. There are a lot of issues on both sides of the ball right now, and ASU defense is definitely not clear blame at all.
Then I won't ask you to pinpoint one of those spots. Michael Matus, in the post-game press conference alongside Jaden Daniels, offered to shoulder some of the blame after some reporters were asking Jaden questions. Michael said, hey, look, some of this blame and a lot of it falls on the defense. As you said, 28 points in the second half against Utah. They picked up where they left off, 28 points in the first half against Washington State. There's a long laundry list of items to work on before USC, because it's creeping up quickly. USC will come to town next Saturday, a week from today. What are some of the things that ASU has to fix in practice this week?
They just really have to take as many painful lessons as possible and really turn this thing around. They just really have to see if they can identify any kind of trend, any kind of running theme on both offense and defense that really hurt them so much in Salt Lake City last week, that hurt them pretty much for the entire game, but especially in the first half even here in Tempe, because if they can identify just one specific trend, one specific running theme, then it's almost, like that children's book where you have a dike that has, 10,000 holes leaking water, and you just really don't know which leak to stop first. So you have to make sure that, on the one hand, yes, you have a lot of problems to fix, but make sure you're honing on the problems that are just a little more significant, a little more paramount than the others. If you can do that successfully on both sides of the ball, that's what really needs to be fixed. But I would say definitely execution, definitely having the right play calls. I think those are maybe the two common themes, if you will, on what's really plaguing the offense and the defense for ASU. And look, I know some fans got mad at me saying that ASU fans should dress up as UCLA fans, because in a couple hours UCLA is going to be at Salt Lake City. And as much as you're down on ASU right now, and you have every reason to be, trust me, this team did not give you any reason to be optimistic. A win by UCLA over Utah, by the time I'm going to publish this video, the score is already going to be known, but that still puts ASU, by some kind of miracle, I guess, in a three-way tie for first place in the South. I think ASU can still turn this thing around, and I know it's really easy when the emotions are raw to think that this team is not going to win any more games at all this year, but this is still a wacky Pac-12 South. It's still a wacky Pac-12 conference, period. So let's see if ASU can really learn the hard lessons that needed to be learned. And I know it's even extra disappointing that you're so afraid about a team coming out flat off a bye week. And I thought that my theory is that the team does come out flat off a bye week, it's because they won, because they're all fat and happy and just really relishing in their success. And I really thought ASU would be so hungry, so motivated, and really, frankly, mad about the way they played against Utah, and really would not lay an egg in today's game. Unfortunately, that's really what happened. And like you said, there's a laundry list, but you have to be tempted not to try to address problems 1 through 100, maybe problems 1 through 5, the problems that really can get you on the right track the quickest. There's still a lot of football to be played. I know, again, it's really easy to think that it's all gloom and doom for ASU from here on out. let's see what happens in Salt Lake later on tonight. Let's see what happens next week against USC, because that's a team that ASU should be motivated to beat after the season opener in 2020. So I'd like to think that ASU can bounce back. I can definitely understand the opinions out there saying that there's no way on God Green's earth that they're going to bounce back. We will see, because I still think that this team has enough talent to really turn things around. But you and I talked in the preview about the mental aspect of this game and how much it's important. I think the mental preparation for ASU, as important as it was coming into today, and obviously did not work that well, is now 10 times more important going into USC next week.
Hode, thank you so much for your time and analysis this afternoon. ASU no longer in control of their Pac-12 destiny, but with that in mind, this is the first time they've lost back-to-back games this year, and now with 4 games remaining on the schedule, they need to win out, Hode. They need to win
and they need help.
Exactly. We'll see you next Saturday, just in time for the Trojans to come into town. But in the meantime, we'll have plenty more post-game content coming this evening. For Hode Rubino, I'm Zach Keenan for DevilsDigest.com.